capital development organization with offices across Nigeria and Africa, and with a strong presence in Lagos, Kano, Edo, and Rwanda. With a vision to improve lives and empower knowledge, Genius Hub prides itself in providing services and training to over 17,000 persons in over 49 TVET entrepreneurship, employability, and digital skills such as basic literacy skills, graphics design, website development, digital marketing, filmmaking, and many more. Genius Hub is committed to promoting MSME growth and visibility through incubation, acceleration, startup development services, as well as tech-driven interventions, including training and capacity building in digital marketing, basic digital literacy, product photography, social media marketing, financial management, search engine optimization, and more. Through NYTV, Genius Hub reaches out to train aspiring creatives in the areas of photography, cinematography, editing, lighting, and many more. Welcome to Genius Hub, the right destination for human capacity development, skills acquisition, and empowerment. Genius Hub is a human capital development organization with offices across Nigeria and Africa, and with a strong presence in Lagos, Kano, Edo, and Rwanda. With a vision to improve lives and empower knowledge, Genius Hub prides itself in providing services and training to over 17,000 persons in over 49 TVET entrepreneurship, employability, and digital skills such as basic literacy skills, graphics design, website development, digital marketing, filmmaking, and many more. Genius Hub is committed to promoting MSME growth and visibility through incubation, acceleration, startup development services, as well as tech-driven interventions, including training and capacity building in digital marketing, basic digital literacy, product photography, social media marketing, financial management, search engine optimization, and more. Through NYTV, Genius Hub reaches out to train aspiring creatives in the areas of photography, cinematography, editing, lighting, and many more.
Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Good day, everyone. In case you're just joining us, this is our Genius Hub webinar series, and today we are commemorating and marking the International Youth Day. And our topic today is leveraging youth migration for national development. And we have our guest here, Alexander. Mr. Alex Toro, you are welcome. Aha, we can see his face. Do you know, I was really thinking that you are going to wear this, you are going to be wearing an Adire top. You did not fail me. You did not fail me. I was almost going to say, can you just wear one of those, your Adire tops, and here you are with it, proudly Nigerian. You're welcome. And we have also here with us our host, Isimeme White. She is also the CIO of Genius Hub. And today we're using this webinar series to mark International Youth Day. So welcome, Ms. Meme White. Can we hear your voice?
Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. Always very excited. Always very, very happy. Today we have industry leader, another industry leader. So who is making the world very, very proud. Mr. Alexander, thank you so much for honoring us. We did not take this for granted.
Thank you for having me.
As you know, for those who have been following us on our webinar, we are very intentional about the MSME development, personal development for individuals, and how can we build a sustainable economic growth for MSMEs. So today is a special day, a youth day set aside by United Nations worldwide, where we get to celebrate young people across the globe. So we are very, very excited that we have our own industry leader that will be doing justice to this topic today. Thank you so much for honoring us. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Alessandra, you are welcome to Genius Hub webinar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, we're glad that at last we have you today. So before we just delve in, we want to quickly read out the profile of Mr. Alexander. He's a migration management professional, graphic information systems analyst, online social media specialist, who currently serves as the zonal coordinator for the Southwest Zone of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, MCFRMI in Nigeria. He's an avid team player and occupies leadership roles in several national and subnational migration coordination and governance framework, such as the state-level reintegration committee, the working group on return, readmission, and reintegration, and the technical working group on migration and development. These frameworks employ an all of government and all of society approach and sees him network and collaborate seamlessly across agency lines. He has worked extensively on migration policy, development in Nigeria, and was a key contributor to the development of Nigeria's standards operation procedure on return, readmission, and reintegration. He is a talented communication professional and is often pegged to moderate migration events at national and international levels, such as the REPACT process, the International Dialogue on the Global Compact for Migration, the National Migration Dialogue, and the Technical Working Group on Migration and Development. He has also facilitated capacity building workshops for stakeholders and is a focal point for the partners in awareness creation against human trafficking and irregular migration. For his top skills, migration, public speaking, communication, teamwork, research. And here we go with Mr. Alex. You are welcome. Please, can we just hear your voice? It was good. You taking time out from your very busy schedule to oblige.
Mr. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I was almost wondering whether it was me that you were talking about during the introduction.
No, it was you. It was you. Beautiful profile. Powerful profile.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we would like to know.
Yeah.
Okay, we would like to know, when you say what is your understanding about leveraging youth migration for development, for national development? What do you think it is? What comes to your mind when you hear leveraging youth migration for national development? So how does leveraging on youth migration lead to national development? How does that work? So I'd like you to share with us, knowing fully well that you are not just anyhow person, you are someone who have been in this migration space for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, Nigeria is a very
That
youthful
connects.
population.
How does that connect?
Um,
What's the relationship
yeah.
with migration and development?
Thank you. Thank you, Sune. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yes. So I was saying that first of all, I mean, looking from the Nigerian perspective, Nigeria boasts of a very youthful population. Some have said, oh, almost up to 70% of the Nigerian population is 35 years and below. And when you talk about Nigeria having over 200 million people, that's a very large number. And in recent times, you've been hearing about the recent wave of migration from Nigeria, which has people within that age bracket from 35 and below being the persons who are migrating from Nigeria to the global north, to the west, to the US, to the UK, to Europe, and what have you. So that means that there is a new trend of having young people migrating. And oftentimes when you hear of it, you think about it or it is spoken about in the negative light. It's spoken about, some people call it the jackpot syndrome. But I choose to look at it from a positive perspective. And we look at it definitely in the migration space. We look at migration as a positive thing, as a tool that can be leveraged for national development. So what does that mean? When people migrate, people are migrating for different reasons. And when they do migrate, it is an opportunity rather than a problem. It's an opportunity for knowledge exchange. It's an opportunity for knowledge transfer. You find out that a lot of the innovation that has been happening in the global north has been driven by migrants. A lot of the latest inventions that you hear about on the tech side is driven by migrants, oftentimes African migrants, oftentimes Nigerian migrants. You would have heard about, I think it was one of these car companies that came up with a beautiful design for one of their models, and it was designed by a Nigerian. We've heard about somebody from Kenya, a Kenyan youth that has designed, some technological advancements in the US and in Europe. So what we're looking at is how can we leverage the skills? How can we leverage the innovations that African migrants are taking to the global north? How can we ensure that there is a form of secular transfer of knowledge? That should be what should be the focus. That should be what people should look at. How can we come up with innovative ways to ensure that the knowledge is transferred back to the country of origin? In the US, for example, you would hear of that. I think it was one former president of the US, I think it was Bill Clinton, that said 1 in 10 doctors in the US is a Nigerian. A recent study by the US Census said that I think 70% of Black doctors in the United States are of Nigerian origin or Nigerian heritage. So that means that young migrants, young persons who are migrating, they have this skill, they have knowledge, they have capacity. And so for the countries of origin, we need to look for unique ways to leverage on those skills, to leverage those skills, to leverage those advancements, to see how the knowledge can be transferred, come up with unique, solutions. In recent times, you hear about telemedicine, where somebody can be in another part of the world and be able to, oversee surgical operations in a different part of the world. So these are things that, through youth migration, these are things that we can actually leverage. There's a country, I think it's in one of the European countries that have designed a program where Nigerian migrants, young Nigerian migrants, can have a form of secular migration where they go to this country in Europe, they gain the skills, their capacity is built, and then they come back and impact those skills in their country of origin, Nigeria. So these are things that we should be looking at, not ways to stop people from migrating, but ways that we can leverage the skills and the knowledge that they get. And another interesting thing that people need to note is that when migrants come into a country, it's not always a negative thing. And they don't always come only to take. They also come with, their skills, with their capacities. Nigerian migrants are known to be the most resilient wherever they go to. They are known to be the most driven. In the US, it has been said that 4%, of Nigerian migrants have PhDs, and even a larger percent have masters. So we go to these places and we build our capacity. We're actually, and we help those societies. So migration is not a negative, but migration is actually a tool that can be leveraged for national development. And these are things that as a government, as a society, we need to be looking at to see how we can improve our capacity. Thank you. Are you still there?
Oh, I'm listening to you, and this our discussion is already gathering momentum. Is already gathering momentum because you mentioned just now that we are not looking at ways of stopping people from migrating, and we know that we have always said that migration is your legal right. Migration is your right. We have a right to migrate to wherever we want to be. What we are talking about is safe migration. And on this our particular webinar today, we're talking about how we can leverage the skills that our people who have migrated and how countries of their origin, like Nigeria, can benefit. That's why we're here today. And you mentioned something, and this percentage is quite high. 70% of Black doctors in the US are all of Nigerian origin. Can you imagine that? So, how can we tap into that to improve our own healthcare system here in Nigeria and all other in the ICT world and every other thing? How can we do that?
Yeah, so I think that's what I've been that's really what I was touching on. That governments need to begin to come up with policies that will encourage, a return. Like for example, Ghana is talking about the year of the return, where they encourage, persons of Ghanaian heritage, even those that are not of Ghanaian heritage, to come back or to come to Ghana and invest in their economy. So one of the things that Nigeria is doing and should be doing more of is to seek for policies, to develop policies and strategies that will encourage knowledge transfer, that will encourage Nigerians people of Nigerian heritage to come back and invest in Nigeria. For example, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission has been selling diaspora bonds, has been selling bonds to Nigerians in the diaspora. And this is a way to get them to invest in Nigeria, to come, to, even if they don't return physically, but in some form of way, invest, use their resources to build the economy. So these are things that should be encouraged. We should also look at ways like the Nigerian Medical Society should look at ways that they can leverage the strengths of Nigerian doctors that are in the US, that are in Canada, that are in Italy. There are a lot of Nigerian doctors in different parts of the world. We need to begin to look at ways to leverage their strengths and their capacities. When they seek to invest in Nigeria, let's encourage them. Let's look for opportunities. And we need to, not just think of it as government alone, even as a society, we need to be welcoming. Because a lot of times the focus is always, what is government doing to encourage people to come back, to encourage people to invest? But what are we as a society doing? How do we make returnees feel when they come back to the country? When they come back, and even those that, come at the end of the year, are we welcoming to them, or do we make them feel, like they are, they are special kinds of people? We don't want to relate with them. We put them to one side. These are things that can discourage people from, maintaining that connection with their country of origin. So we have to look at ways, come up with, yes, while government is coming up with an enabling environment, but we as a people, we have to also create that atmosphere that will encourage people to invest. We have to look for ways. I know of a doctor that is based in Scotland, a Nigerian doctor, a doctor of Nigerian heritage. He's based in Scotland, and he has been trying to invest in his home state, his state of origin. But he's been facing a lot of, bureaucratic bottlenecks from the state government, from the Ministry of Health. He wanted to, he's been looking at ways to send down equipment for their hospital. And they keep, pushing back, say, oh no, he needs to pay this. And this is somebody who wants to do it of his own volition. So we have to, as a people, be more, we have to be less selfish, really. Let me put it that way. We have to be more open, to our people. Let's not always look for what we can get out of it personally, but let's create an atmosphere where people can actually be, excited to invest, excited to come back home, and give back, because the opportunities are endless. The possibilities are endless. We have a lot of Nigerians that are doing extremely well, young Nigerians, that are at the forefront. We have Nigerians that are working with Twitter. We have Nigerians that are working, with a lot of tech firms. They are at the forefront of innovation. And the only way we can leverage their skills and capacity is by creating an enabling environment, creating opportunities for collaboration. I think that these are just some of the strategies that we can come up with. And then as a government, we also need to find, other opportunities. For example, I'll give you an example about what the Philippines are doing. You know that the Philippines, they have a very strong migration policy. One of the things that their policy insists on, because they found out that, of course, they have a lot of nationals that are taking up jobs, and they are in high demand in the US and the UK and all of that. So what did they do? They decided that, okay, if you want to take a Filipino national through through regular means of employment, using private employment agencies and all of that, that no foreign private employment agency can take the services of a Filipino national without having an office in the Philippines. So they have to have an office in the Philippines, and they have to be paying tax in the Philippines. And then they have to ensure that before they take the national, they must put the person through a training. They must go through a training that will assist them in their integration in the country of destination. And so what does this do? So this ensures that, for every person that migrates, the country at least gains something. Their capacity has been built, and then tax is being paid to the Philippines, to the country of origin. So so there is at least, that's another way of leveraging young people having to migrate for work, but the country is still able to gain something out of that process. So these are some unique ways, which governments can ensure that there is some kickback towards national development through their persons migrating abroad. Not stopping them from migrating, but coming up with unique strategies to benefit from that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with this example that you have given of the Filipinos, I think you really brought the point down on what we're looking at and what we're talking about today. How the government can be a key player using policies, favorable policies. Now, you also talked about our society. This is not just for the government alone. We want to talk about what each one of us can do as individuals, as communities, as a society. Apart from just welcoming them, are there things we need? Are there things we need to put in place? Are there things we need to do to make this transition, to make this very seamless for persons who want to give back? You gave an example just now of somebody who is struggling to give back, and I know that I heard a similar story from my sister, who is a periodontology and she works in UBTH, and she had a classmate of hers who wanted to give back, and he was going to give them machines before they could even give him an opportunity to speak, to meet with students. They extrade him here, extrade him there. Or what is he benefiting? And this is somebody who genuinely just wanted to give back. He said that he didn't want his own people to be lacking behind, because a lot of technological advancement has come and our people were lacking behind. And he was ready to train, but you needed to see the bottleneck. If not that he was resolute, maybe something he promised himself, like, oh, God sent me to do this, he would have been tired along the wayside and he would just have given up. So looking at individuals, organizations, how can we really make this thing a better, softer, and landing ground for these persons? And for those who are not thinking about it, who are not thinking about giving back, how can we begin to initiate the process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it really boils down to what I've been saying. It's about the mentality thing. As Nigerians, we have to We have to, have that mentality where we allow people to grow. There's this thing that they say pulling down syndrome or crabs in a barrel, where, when you have crabs in a barrel, they keep pulling each other down. So when one is trying to climb out of the barrel, there's somebody else pulls him down. Not that that one wants to climb, but it just keeps, they keep pulling each other down. And that's how you can see a barrel that is filled, almost filled to the brim with crabs, but they can't climb out. So that seems to always be the challenge with Nigeria, where you have people within the system that keep doing things to suppress, people that want to actually give back and build a better society. So it just boils down to a mentality. Let's change our orientation. Through programs like this, it's a way to get the word out, to get people to understand that, we can be better, we can do better. We have persons create that environment that will encourage people to come back and invest, that will encourage people to come back and play their role and play their parts. People are willing. That's the funny thing. There are a lot of people that are in the diaspora and who have a strong desire to invest. They have a strong desire to play their role. You have people, a lot of, like, for example, when you look at the Nigerian Olympic female basketball team, 80 to 90% of that team are second generation migrants. They're not second generation migrants. They are second generation diaspora, because they didn't migrate from Nigeria themselves. It was their parents that migrated. But because of the connection that they've maintained with their country of origin, Nigeria, their country of heritage, they've chosen to represent Nigeria, in that space. So we need to, let's not work together to suppress them or to destabilize them, because you hear some unfortunate stories, like some people who wanted to represent Nigeria, and then either they were told to pay a fee, or they made the process difficult for them, or they wanted to represent Nigeria, and then some basic things that needed to be done were not done, and at the end of the day, they couldn't do it, and now they've gone on to represent another country and they are winning medals. So these are things that would discourage people. But these things were not done by government per se. They were done by Nigerians, by fellow Nigerians, because they didn't see the value of having, persons from the diaspora of Nigerian heritage coming back to bring their expertise towards national development. You look at the last, to stick to sports, because Nigerians are doing well in different spaces, whether you look at sports, entertainment, medicine, technology, we're doing extremely well. So even in sports, when at the last Nations Cup, the African Nations Cup, when Nigeria got to the final, when we lost the final, people started blaming the Nigerian players that were born abroad, saying, "Oh, it's because they didn't eat akpu, they didn't do this one, that's why they were." But that's unfair. You are creating an unnecessary, dichotomy. Those are things that make it difficult for us to leverage their strengths, because somebody else is watching and the person is like, "Oh, so is this what happens? Is this how Nigerians will treat me if I come back to give back? If I decide to invest, if I decide to bring my skills and my knowledge, my capacity to build my nation, is this how I'll be treated?" So we need to be very careful about this. It's more about us as a people than it is about, whether government has, because Nigeria has a lot of favorable policies that should encourage, migrants of Nigerian heritage to invest or to, give back. There are so many programs of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NITCOM, that are out there. They have diaspora bonds. They even have a cashback scheme where if you key into the scheme and you remit funds back into Nigeria, you will get some cash back from the government. So there are so many interesting and lucrative schemes that government has put in place, to encourage diaspora engagement, and also to encourage Nigerian migrants, to engage with the society back home. And we need to, so outside of government policies and strategies, how are we as a people making it possible for them to you know, to enjoy their affinity to Nigeria.
Thank you so much. This is really, really, really interesting to see that migration is of benefit to us. Very quickly, I want us to talk a bit about this new trend, the Japa syndrome, how it looks like everyone wants to run away. People want to run away. We see a situation where people who are even living, they don't tell their colleagues. You come to an office today, and people you were discussing with the previous day, the next day you are told they have gone. They have gone. They just have gone, you know. And many of them are actually getting stranded, and a lot of things are happening to them. So let's bring in migration now, the benefits of migration, safe migration. Now, because we have established at the beginning that we're not discouraging people from migrating. Okay, now we're thinking about how we can leverage on strengths and opportunities. Now, many people are getting strong as they migrate. We speak to that. What can you say about that? Why is that happening? Why is this thing turning out to be the way it is now?
Yeah, so I think one of the it was important that yes, of course, we established at the beginning that migration is a positive and migration is a right. And one of our mantras at the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and IDPs is migration is a right, but do it right. So if you're going to migrate, do it the right way. You know, people end up in challenging situations because they try to engage in some irregular, pathways, irregular means of migration. Migration is everybody's right. Everybody has a right to migrate. But do you have the right information? If you go out without the right information, you're already on your way to having challenges along the way. Some people might even migrate regularly. I know of people that migrate regularly. They get the passport, they get the visas, and all of that. And maybe they went on a temporary residency visa, which is just a normal visa, the kind of visa that you get if you're going for a holiday or if you're going for a conference and what have you. And then they get there and they don't know any better, and then they get a job. The moment you get a job and you're earning money from that job, you're already an irregular migrant and you're subject to being deported or facing whatever laws of that country you have gone to. So it's important that people get well educated on what is expected when they travel, when they migrate. What documents do you need to get? And then what are the opportunities that you're going to get when you get over there? What kind are you going, just because everybody is going to a particular country, for example, Canada, and then you just decide that, oh, you're going. Canada has a beautiful migration system because Canada actually takes migration as one of their strategies for national development. So migration in Canada is very well planned. It is government orchestrated. They look for foreign nationals with specific skills and capacity to come into their country. And those ones, when they come in, based on those programs that they have outlined, they have a clear pathway for regularization. They have a clear pathway for permanent residency. But if you come in through any other means and you just come in and you expect to enjoy those same privileges, unfortunately, you will not. You will end up floating about in the system, and before you know it, you could find yourself deported. So it's very important that you get all the necessary information. This place I'm going to, am I getting a job? Are you getting a job before you even travel? Is it important that you get what permits do I need to get? What training, what certifications do I need to get? All of this information is very important before you start, the process of migrating. So it's important that you take, and we have in Nigeria, we have under the Ministry of Labor and Employment, the Migrant Resource Center. And the job of the Migrant Resource Center is to provide you with this relevant information about countries of destination. You can also come to the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and IDP. We can also provide you with that, with those information. But also the Migrant Resource Center under the Ministry of Labor and Employment. I think they have them in Lagos, Benin, Nasarawa, and Abuja. So these resource centers, they provide you with every information that you require. So if you have gotten, for example, a job opportunity in the UK and you want to find out, is this authentic? You can walk into the Migrant Resource Center and they will help you to confirm the authenticity. They will also provide you with information about the country of destination, and you will be able to know from a professional standpoint, do you actually meet the requirements? Because some of these private employment agencies are not even registered with Ministry of Labor, and so they are doing a lot of sharp practices, and they just deceive people, make them think that, oh, don't worry, just come once you get to the UK. We heard, I think it was last year, about some Nigerians who went to the UK. They were supposed to have gotten a job. They got them an Airbnb, this short-let apartment. They put them there, and then they told them, don't worry, you will start work on Monday. By Monday, the person stopped picking up their calls, and they were just there stranded. And by the Monday, the Airbnb had expired, so they had to leave, and they were on the streets. They started going to these houses, safe houses, to get food to eat, free food, and all of that. So these are the things, and they paid thousands of pounds, for that exercise, because they would have paid for a work permit. So they have a work permit, they have all the documentation, but the company that was bringing them, or supposedly bringing them, was not an authentic organization. So after getting them, the work permit, bringing them all the way to the UK, so they traveled regularly. They had a passport, they had everything, but when they got there, every other thing disappeared. There was no job at the end of the day. So that's why it's important. Anybody that tells you, I know that in Nigeria, we have a lot of superstitions, where people say, oh, don't tell people your plans so that they will not go and spoil it, and all of that. I mean, to an extent, it is valid, but not when it comes to issues like this. If at least even if you don't want to speak to your friends, speak to a professional. Speak to the Migrant Resource Center. Speak to the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and IDP, so that you have the right information. We were doing a sensitization work last week. I think it was during the World Day Against Human Trafficking, the World Day Against Anti-Trafficking. We were doing our sensitization work, and I met a market woman, and she was asking me, okay, what are we talking about? And I started breaking it down to her. And by the time we started talking, she opened up to me that her son has been that her son is in the middle of being taken to Egypt. That somebody has said that, oh, there are jobs for him in Egypt and all of that, and they have done everything, passport and all. And by the time I broke it down to her, we found out that he was just a few minutes away from being trafficked. And so I had to now let her know that, no, this thing that they're doing is trafficking, that anything can happen. They can end up taking his organs and all of that. And she was so shocked. So you can see, if she had kept it to herself, she wouldn't have gotten that deliverance. So your deliverance from being stranded either in Europe, or being stranded in the desert, or being stranded on the high sea, is getting the right information. And you can only get the right information from the right places. I implore you, visit the Migrant Resource Center closest to you, or visit the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, and ask them for the relevant information that you need.
Thank you very much. In case you're just joining us, today is World International Youth Day, and we have our guest here, Mr. Alex, and we are talking about he's the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of MCF MROI, and we're talking about leveraging youth migration for national development. And he just spoke extensively about the part of getting the right information. If you must migrate, do it right, get the right information. We're not only, you cannot be stranded because you migrated irregularly or you took the road route. You can also get stranded if you take the right ways and you do not have the right information. And that brings me to sensitization. You saw how that sensitization brought about deliverance, in your very words, deliverance to that woman. So most times our deliverance is in just mentioning something to somebody. But because we are very religious people, we take it to the church, we take it to the pastor. Last week on our webinar series, we had a priest talk about the role of religious leaders in migration. And he told us how sometimes religious leaders mislead people. You just look at, and yesterday I was talking to a young girl and she told me I encounter in a church that a pastor just looked at a young man and said, "Hey, where do you stay?" And he said, "I'm in Abracao." He said, "Wow, you are supposed to be living in London. Your destiny is in London." And the boy said, "Yes, so he has been trying his best. Oh, you have a stepmother," and so on and so forth and all that. These are the people who get information from the wrong source. And because we are very religious, like I have said, we have trained ourselves to believe our religious leaders. Whatever they tell us, they are correct. Now you have said to us, and I want to say that Genius Hub, we partner a lot with Migrant Resource Center here in Benin City, even in Lagos and everywhere. We're a strong partner of Migrant Resource Center, and we have been advocating for getting the right information from the right place. And I like the way we have highlighted it today. That is what brings about deliverance. Of course, we have validated the fact that you must not speak to everybody, but Mr. Alex has said to us today, speak to a professional, speak to the right persons. Mrs. Isimeme White is still here. I don't know if she wants to contribute. Her camera is off, but I bet she can hear us. So before she comes up, we want to talk about the role of awareness raising, because that's World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. A lot of events, a lot of programs took place, and this woman, and I know that there are many like her, very many like her, who got deliverance from our word. So do you think that we are doing enough sensitization? Do you think we are doing enough? Just imagine that you did not stop and speak to that woman. Another case gone down. Because I don't think that we do much more than sensitization and awareness raising. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, you're very correct. Sensitization is very key. Even more important and more key, if I can use the term, is the right messaging. One of the challenges that we have, and I mean, a lot of work, I have to give kudos to a lot of agencies, government agencies that are doing a lot of work, even civil society organizations as well, and private individuals that are doing a lot of work in getting the message out, which is very, very key. But one of the challenges I've seen is that there's a challenge, a problem with messaging. A lot of times you would see, like even for example, during that program, it wasn't organized by my agency, but we were invited to participate. And one of the things I told them was the challenge I had with their messaging. You had banners that said, "Say no to trafficking." And interestingly, the woman that I shared her experience just now. I was holding one of the banners, the flyers, and it said, "Say no to trafficking." And so when she saw it, the first thing that she said was, "Yes, now I know they do trafficking. I know they traffic drugs. I know they do this stuff." And I said, "No, it's not drug trafficking, it's human trafficking." She said, "No be to send your pikin go do house help." All this, I know they do them. So you can see that the messaging didn't take it home for her. It was still very broad and basic. So we need to be very careful in our messaging. We have to make our, construct internalization. There's what you call social and behavioral change communication. Social and behavioral change communication. This is very key. The aim of your sensitization is for change. You want a change in behavior. You want a change in, in the way they do things. So it has to be very key that your message must speak to that. So you cannot come up with a message that is just, bland. Say no to trafficking. Don't traffic. Trafficking is a crime. Trafficking is dangerous. It has not said anything. Say no to irregular migration. You have to be able to bring the message home in a way that they understand. I did a workshop for some government agencies, and a communications workshop, and I was telling them, how you have to break down the message down to the barest minimum for the local community. So when you tell somebody, say, your pikin no be burden, no give up to somebody. You understand? You have broken the message down. So the person will now understand that, oh, trafficking can also be if I give my child to somebody to take the person abroad without knowing what the person is going to do there. It begins to bring the message home. When you tell somebody, that travel where you want travel, make sure you break it down. Let them understand that, okay, if you want to travel, get the right information. If you want to travel, don't listen to somebody who will tell you, oh, don't pass this, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody, say they travel. The moment somebody tells you not to tell anybody, then you know that there's a problem.
It's a red flag.
That should be an immediate red flag.
Yeah.
The moment somebody starts to tell you, oh, this thing, don't tell anybody, just keep it to yourself, it should be a red flag for you. So these are some of the things. So our messages have to speak to those things. And also important, when you're talking, especially the messaging on irregular migration, should also not be seen to be telling people not to migrate. Because I've been in meetings where people are saying, oh, how can we stop this? People are always migrating. How can we? No, the goal is not to stop people from migrating, but it's to actually ensure that people migrate. They migrate regularly, they migrate safely, and they migrate with the right information. They have all the required information, all the relevant information that is required to go to that particular country. So people know that there are dangers, of irregular migration. They know, even though a lot still needs to be done, but to a large extent, people know that there are dangers when you go irregularly. But they need to know that there is a pathway to go regularly. And sometimes the regular pathways are even cheaper than going irregularly. I remember some years ago, before the Naira became what it is, some years ago, I know somebody that went through the desert and spent over ₦1 million. And I was telling the person that if you were to travel regularly to Europe at that time, you would spend up to ₦1 million. With tickets and everything. Visa then was not even up to 100,000 naira. Passport 20-something thousand naira. So you package everything together, you will not spend up to ₦1 million naira. Meanwhile, this person spent almost 1.5 million to pay a smuggler to try and get him.
With suffering on top.
Then added to that, the suffering.
Yes.
So you can just imagine, so these are the things. So information knowledge is key. In our messaging, when we're sensitizing, let's take care to ensure that we have the right messaging. The message that will actually get the message across, the wording, everything has to be very clear. So that if somebody picks up a flyer at a go, the person gets the information already. It doesn't need any extra, even without you explaining further, the person already sees it. That, okay, there's something, this is what this is talking about, So, thank you.
Wow. We have spoken a lot. So we have spoken a lot. And I'm very, very happy about this one. You talked about right messages. Because we had established saying no to regular migration, saying no to human trafficking, but have we really passed the message across? So during sensitization, we must be very on point with right messaging. So this is one of my major takeaways here today. So we said we're marking International Youth Day. So we want to talk to our young people now. We want to talk about skills. We want to talk about them developing themselves. We want to talk about investing in themselves. So the first thing is not, I want to travel. What do you have to show? What is the investment? You as a person, what have you invested in yourself? Because when you get to wherever you're going, what sets you aside is what you're bringing on the table. It's what you're bringing on the table, the skills you are coming with. We have already said now that Nigerians are known to excel in a lot of things that they do. So for our young people back here, who we have said it is not wrong to want to migrate, let us address that issue of building themselves up. Whilst you're making that plan, what are you doing here? How are you enhancing what you have? How are you updating yourself? How are you adding? How are you becoming more valuable? How are you preparing yourself? These days, we have a lot of young people in our communities, like in Edo State, in Benin, where we are. They want to ride flashy cars. Well and fine, beautiful. They want to play loud music. Nothing wrong at all. They want to make money. How are you developing yourself? They are very aspirational. Good point. It is good for young persons to be aspirational. But are you marketable? Do you have a skill that you're lashing onto? Mr. Alex, one day my heart broke. I went to school because in Junior Sub we have our school club sessions where we talk to young school leavers and when we talk to the school children. And the children by themselves in the class said to me, school na scam. School na scam. He said, you see that HK? We won't go HK. When we go HK, they go suffer also. We'll need down 3 days. He said, but they go teach us until we'll come blow. They even believe in delayed gratification. They know that they have to endure something to get to where they're going. But that's that thing about young people now thinking that school na scam. How do we discredit that? Because between me and you, we know that school not be scam at all.
Yeah, I think that is that's also one of the major challenges as well that we tend to hear. And it's good that that Genius Hub has the migration club. We also have that we started that in the southwest. The NCFRMI, we have migration clubs in various secondary schools in Lagos, Ogun State, and what have you. And the whole idea is to get the message across to the youth because we found out that the larger majority of migrants who are returned, who have migrated irregularly, almost over 60% of them are young people, young school leavers, secondary school leavers. Immediately after finishing WAEC, they just begin to embark on that journey. So it's become a major issue. So yes, it's something that we're working very much against. And the truth about migration is that if you don't have anything to offer, like at the beginning when I was talking about the benefits of migration, everything I talked about, if you paid attention, was about the migrants having something to offer. It was about the migrants bringing something to the table. So if you're a migrant and you're not bringing anything to the table, you would even end up in a worse scenario than you are in your country of origin. There are migrants who are even medical doctors who have ended up as taxi drivers in destination countries. Talk less of somebody who comes without any skill whatsoever, who comes without anything to bring to the table. What then do you expect for that? So it can never be overemphasized for you to build your capacity, for you to build your knowledge base in your country before you even begin thinking of migrating, and what you've learned, even within the four walls of the school is not even enough, really. There are, even as a secondary school student, You can register for courses online. There are a lot of courses online, that deal with so many things. That there's some certifications you can start getting before you migrate, before you finish secondary school. Before you finish secondary school, you can become a network engineer. You can become so many things. You can learn coding. You can learn so many things, so many courses online, so many certifications that you can get that can build you up, even while you're in secondary school. And by the time you're done, when you want to migrate, you will be going with so much capacity. You will not be, trying to struggle to. No, you'll be coming in at the top of the chain, at the top of the food chain. So building your capacity, personal development can never be overemphasized. And what I always tell people is that when you build your capacity, nobody can take it from you. When you build your knowledge base, nobody's going to, they can't remove the knowledge from your head. Every knowledge that you acquire is for you. So it's for you to be able to now manage it, leverage it, and use it to the best of your ability. So if you are thinking of migrating, I mean, when you look at, there are a lot of countries that have created regular pathways for migration. They have very clear pathways. Australia has a clear pathway. New Zealand has a clear pathway for persons to migrate regularly. But when you look at all of these programs, they are looking for highly skilled migrants. And who are highly skilled migrants? Those are persons that have all as many certifications as possible, are able to bring value to the country of destination. And that's how you can, you can find yourself wherever you want to be. We understand Nigeria is difficult. We understand people want to jackpot. Not everybody will be able to travel. I choose to refer to jackpot not as a syndrome, but more as a phenomenon. Because when you say syndrome, it sounds negative. It's like a sickness, jackpot syndrome. So I prefer to say it's a jackpot phenomenon, where young people are migrating, people that are, expected to be in their country and develop it. But there is nothing wrong with that as well. But if you are going, make sure you are going with value. Don't believe all the pictures that you're seeing on Instagram, where people are taking pictures. Everybody posts their best life on Instagram. In fact, like for example, my Instagram page, if you visit it, you will not even know what my job is. It doesn't look like my job. It doesn't look like what I do on a day-to-day. Maybe my LinkedIn is more, focused, in the direction of my job. But if you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, you will not even know. You just think it's just a young man that is just living his life, So everybody puts up what, and it's intentional. I want my Instagram, Facebook to be socially inclined, and then I want my LinkedIn to be professionally inclined. So if you go there, you won't see anything about my professional, really about my professional work like that. So you will not use that to judge who I am. If you go to my Instagram, you will not have a full picture of who I am or the job that I do. And so everybody is the same way. They put out on Instagram, on social media, what they want to put out. So don't get deceived that, oh, this person, nobody just last month he traveled. See, Anna, you don't day Italy. See, you don't day snap. Yeah, you don't buy motor. That car may not even be his own. Maybe he's working as a valet where they help people to park car. And so every time he enters car, he will now snap picture. You will now say, this guy, he just they change car. Last week, no be this guy they drive. Now he don't they drive another car. You understand? Everybody will always put their best foot forward. Everything you see on social media is just a snapshot of a person's life at that particular moment in time. It doesn't tell you the full story. So don't be deceived.
Oh my word, thank you so much. And I hope our young people are hearing us, because we are giving you the right information, the right messaging. We are telling you the right things, not because we do not want you to put up your best pictures or believe what your friends are saying. We're saying that there is more that meets the eyes. Or somebody that just jackpot yesterday and is telling you, oh, everything is okay here. Oh, just find your way, come here, your own don't better finish. And you have not even developed any skill. You have not even looked at getting skilled. You didn't go to school. You're not thinking of any skill. Your own is once I get there, oh, I find something to do. We are saying no to that. That's why I'm very intentional and very particular about self-development. So presently, children are on holidays, and we're running our summer school classes, making it very exciting and interesting, because we know that these are holiday periods. And so we have courses around coding, we have courses on graphic designs, we have courses on computer appreciation, we have courses on tailoring, we have some on video editing, photography. Then we have our Fridays where the children watch movies. And of course, we begin every session with our life management skills, where we talk about body image, self-esteem, communication skills, how you can become a better version of yourself. And we have our art-based intervention classes, and all this preparing our young people to develop and to invest in themselves and to become who they see themselves in the future. So, Mr. Alex, we are very grateful for sharing your insights. But the way when you just they talk the matter as if it's just easy like that, just gentle, easy like this, easy like this. I make yourself come begin the wonder or say that so this matter just easy like this. So why many of our people getting stranded? Whilst we are wishing our youths a very happy World International Youth Day, we are saying invest in yourself. Get the right information from the right place. We have talked about MCFMROI. We have talked about Migrants Resource Center. We have talked about even our office here at Genius Hub. Oh, please, media, can you start scrolling our social media handles? Because we are in partnership with MRC. So you can come to us and we can direct you and we can give you the right messages. And our message has always been that migration is not wrong. Migration is your legal right. Do it right. Get the right messages from the right source. Our other message is you must get skilled. You must invest in yourself. You must bring forth value. It is your value that makes you sellable and makes you marketable. Thank you once more, Mr. Alex. My dear audience, it was not easy to get this Mr. Alex so for months. Emails upon emails before he finally found time. That's to tell you, not because he does not want to share his knowledge, but because he is busy. And he took out this time to be with us. So we do not take your time for granted at all. We are very happy and we are very blessed and we are very excited that you are willing to share your information with us. What is very important about our webinars is that you can always go back and look at everything we have done and hear all these our messages. So as we are trying to wrap now, can you just give us, like, as we are wrapping, what is your last word for our audience? And in case we have people with questions, this is the time to pop your question.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. Interestingly, I was a bit worried that I might not be able to join because I'm actually I'm in Ijebu Ode now because my work has me going from different parts of the Southwest. So I'm actually in Ijebu Ode in the middle of a sensitization program, but I just said that I have to be here to join this session, and I'm happy to be here. I think just like I've been saying from the start, the most important thing is having the right information. Migration is a right, but do it right. And make sure that you have the right information when you want to migrate. It is easier than you think. Doing it the right way is actually easier than you think. Another interesting fact is that there are more people migrating regularly than there are migrating irregularly. Over 90%, between 80 to 90% of migration in Nigeria is done regularly. So people are going through the regular channels. So why not, make use of regular channels? And then why not, take out the time to do your research, get the right information, speak to the right persons. We've given the agencies of government that you can speak to. Their CSOs like Genius Hub that we trust, that have the right information. There are also international agencies like IOM and all those that also can assist in providing you with the relevant information. So make sure you get the relevant information, do your background check. all that glitters is not gold. People are getting stranded because they don't have the right information. People are recruiting people from the village. They're recruiting people from, smaller towns where there's less information to try and, get them deceived. They are going for people that they feel have less information because they feel they are easier to dissuade or to assuade and get them to engage in these practices. But if you get the right information, I mean, during the World Cup in Russia at the time, they were giving free. It was like visa free to go to Russia. So there was what they called what did they call it now? They called it fan ID. So you would go to the Russian embassy and they would give you a fan ID to say you are going to Russia to watch the World Cup. So some people turned it into a business, and they went and got, they would tell people that we're getting you Russian passport or Russian visa, and they will go and get the fan ID for them. They charge money, and it was free. They will charge money for the fan ID, and then get people, take them. So people who now went to Russia for the World Cup, and they will tell them, oh, just go for the World Cup. After the World Cup, you are free to go anywhere. And they found themselves stranded because they got to Russia, and Russia is not smiling. I mean, Russia is not somewhere you go and you say you can manage. There's a language barrier. There are so many issues.
Cold.
And then the cold. A lot of them died in the cold.
The cold.
Because I have a friend that works with the Russian migration agency, similar to NCFRMI, the Russian, and she was reaching out to me that, oh, we have these cases. So these were real cases. There were people that were dying. There were people that were dying off because they were living under the bridge, because nobody would take you in. Nobody looks like you. Before you see a black person in Russia, you will rush everywhere before you see one black person. So nobody would just take you in like that. So they were sleeping on the street before the government now started taking them. And then a lot of them died. Some of them got, returned back. Some of them claimed asylum, and some of them got refugee status. But for most of them, it's not the best situation. So, and it was because they didn't do their background check. Because, I mean, nobody can come and tell me, as I am now, that, oh, take a fan ID card. Is a visa. I can go to Russia. I can stay. I will know that this is wrong. So and why will I know that? Because I have the right information. So it's important for us to get the right information. Even when you think it is legitimate, still go back and do your background check. I've done programs, in different parts of the world. I've been invited to speak in different places, but when I get the invitation, I'll still check. Even though I know it's supposedly a legitimate, I will still do my background check. I will Google. I will even use Google Map to show me their building. Let me see what their building looks like. I will check everything, make sure it is authentic before I because I cannot go and be embarrassed halfway. So we need to be able to do our due diligence, and I think it will be better for us. So thank you for having me, and
thank you so much. Now technology is there. We can leverage on technology to get the right information. That's what you have just said. So while we are saying thank you very much, Mr. Alex, I want to wrap with these words from you. Doing it the right way is easier than you think. Perhaps that's one of the barriers in our minds, that before I will go this agency, before I'll do this, it is easier than you think.
Yeah.
And it is more cost effective.
That's
it is
right.
more cost effective.
That's
so thank you so much, Mr. Alex, for sharing your time, your talents, and your knowledge with us. While we wish you the best in your endeavors, we are going to say that by the time we call on you next time, we have just established this with you. We are saying that you should leave your doors open, because we're going to come knocking another time. Thank you very much. And so happy International Youth Day to all of us. As we sign out, this is Obeyu Kwabele from Genius Hub. Join us tomorrow again for another exciting time. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.